first open practice with the fans. And so to see this connection, fan base, and this team, and how important that is. So to have this kind of turnout, what we're expecting on day one of an open practice, I think that's really cool and appreciative. So let's get the whole thing rocking. So glad to open up to you guys and get going.
I want to touch on a different topic. Jaden Daniels.
Okay, we haven't done that before. That's good.
But I am curious, from your perspective, having gone against rookie quarterbacks as a defensive coordinator, how does that help you shape what you want to see from him during camp to get him ready?
Yeah, because you're not going to give every look, correct, in terms of what they are going to see. But for any young player, quarterbacks, other positions, what's the same, John, and then what's different? So for a quarterback, the 2-minute timing rules are different than they are in college. So, getting on the ball and playing quickly, yeah, it's 2 minutes. It's the same but different. And so those are the examples of things, of timing rules and field locations that are different. As far as the defensive coordinator goes, matchups and where it is as opposed to moving quickly in college, sometimes you don't get into those. But, knowing your own team, your own strengths and matchups, that's something that quarterbacks in the NFL start that trajectory quickly.
And how can you help him get there?
Well, I think, one, the system can, too, to make sure, what's the read, what's the look, to find it. And then non-scripted plays after we get through installs, those help, where there's not an alert or something coming from the coach, but just truly non-scripted sessions, which we'll have quite a few of those as well.
Hey, Dan, you've talked obviously a lot about wanting to find what these guys can do beyond their sort of stated position with Sanders still. What have you kind of seen with him so far, and how do you kind of think he might be able to fit in ways maybe you didn't think before?
Yeah, we still are exploring some more of that. What I have seen is excellent ability to stay connected man-to-man. He's a very good communicator, very intentional about that. We've put him back some on the return because he has excellent ball skills, so punt returning and kick returning. And so I just want to keep exploring that and then make sure we're never adding so much that it takes away from learning, at his primary position. But that'll include the special teams portion on the return side for sure. So that would be one Ben that added value that he could do.
There are some coaches who get squeamish about putting regular starters on special teams, on returns. You've had several guys, notable all players back there. Does that bother you to have starters out there, or do you go hey, if you can make the plays?
Yeah, I think the value is there to say if you can add value to what we're doing and make explosive plays and do things. And I think you'll also see that with kickoff, Ben, that it's going to be a little bit different because it's not the same distance that guys used to run. So we have to change our thinking a little bit on that specific play because as far away as you and I are, that kind of speed and space, the guys who can make plays in those 5-yard blocks and windows, there's a lot to find out about that. And guys who can win in those circumstances, I think could end up changing field position quite a bit.
You mentioned the fan day a little bit. Is there a palpable difference in energy at all? I mean, I know you guys play. Okay, all right.
There is, Chicken. I honestly, I felt it, early this morning driving in and seeing people, parking up on the grass to get here early. And it's such a cool reminder to know, this historic fan base here and knowing, finally, a real part of that. And so to see that, it definitely brought up a good feeling of, what is next here. As far as the energy that happens, it's good because what you want at practice is really getting ready to practice performing. And so the more people, energy, crowd noise, of things that can go with that, that's all part of performing. And so it's a fun part of having that experience.
And how much of bringing a guy like Austin Eckler or Bobby Wagner in, we know they can perform, but how much of that thought process was these guys can also teach?
Yes, and I think sometimes the example is just by being them, not having to do something extra. But Austin's process that he goes through, remarkable. Same with Zach, same with Wags. So seeing that, you don't have to even bring someone along. It's just the essence of who they are and what they do. So I can remind them when we first signed them, hey, you're not brought in here to coach, you're brought in here to play and do things and leading in your own way. Early on, leading I thought, was mostly about me and how I lead. And then as you get a little more chrome, you realize leading is about bringing out the leaders in others. And so when you have a chance to do that, I think that's really important.
We'll know more about the offensive defensive lines when the guys get in pads, but particular to Dante Fowler, why did you want to bring a guy like him in, or why did you want to bring him here?
I think just having the speed and the pass rush ability off the edge. I don't think you've ever heard a coach say, boy, we don't have enough pass rushers. And so I've got a long history with Dante. I know what he's capable of. And so he was somebody I thought would add real value, especially in the chances, third downs, and 2 minutes where he can really put that part of his game on display.
Hey, Coach, when it comes to Luke McCaffrey, what have you been seeing from him thus far? And I know we've talked a lot about those veterans that are kind of taking young guys under their wings. Guys specifically, I'm assuming like a Terry, Jahan. What have you seen from the vets, too?
Yeah, and Terry just, I'd said this the other day, just there's so much about him of what does a pro look like. When he steps into that arena, it is all business all the time. And so Luke has a lot of those traits. So to see what it can look like from a professional at the same position to go, it's excellent. I also love seeing the connection with him and Bobby, because Bobby Ingram, if you were playing receiver, he's somebody you'd want to develop underneath. He's seen it, he's coached it, he knows what it looks like. He can see it from the lens of the helmet. And so that's a rare person that can do that. So, yeah, I'm encouraged by what we've seen. Came in with high expectations just about the competitor, but the ability to learn and apply it has been excellent too.
Just to follow up about McCaffrey, given that he's only played the position for a couple years, where's his skill set at? Is it still fairly green in your opinion, or is it more refined than you expected?
I would say it's more refined than I expected. That's a great question because I would say, his work ethic is higher than most. And so I'm sure at Rice, that transition, he applied it at a very high level. You can see he's curious about learning and finding new ways to do things. Perhaps playing quarterback, had an impact on that in terms of concepts and depth and the importance of that. But the individual skill part, he's really coming on. So I would say it's further than I thought it would be, but I'm not surprised based on his makeup. So I would say, it's definitely going to be going up, the more he's here, but he was further along than I had anticipated.
And Nick Allegretti, what did you see in him that you wanted to bring him in football-wise, but
Yep.
in his time here, what has he done also for just the locker room?
Yeah, what I had known there was some leadership there with him, and so for guys like he and Tyler Biadasz, sometimes their leadership, it's not suppressed because that's not the right word, but they might be in a O-line room or others that already had somebody that was established as a leader. In other words, like Tyler's time in Dallas had Tyron Smith and Zach there, so it wasn't like, hey guys, this is how we're going to do things. But there is an element with Nick and Tyler getting started here that they're able to establish some of that, the traits and the things they have learned and the way they want to lead. So he's strong, he's square, as an offensive guard. But past that, he also has some excellent qualities as a teammate that he can pass along to others. I love guys that have gone through some journey because they're able to relate to different aspects of someone's career. And so for a guy like Nick, has awareness for that.
During your intro presser, you mentioned the things you were looking for in a new franchise was ownership, GM, fan base. What did you know about this fan base coming in, given that the franchise hasn't been where they wanted it to be for the last several years?
Yeah, I think probably it leads to me growing up, on the East Coast. And so, seeing the games of Washington and New York and Philadelphia and Dallas, and those were the ones that, when John Madden and Pat Summerall were calling a game, that was the ones that were on. So, and then, going to college locally here. So growing up and where I, fell in love with football, you recognized, what that was here. And I can still remember even, telling, Mr. Jones when I left, Dallas, and he said, that's such an important fan base, Dan, that you're the right man for that. And so I appreciated that. This is from a competitor who knew the importance of this franchise, this city, and he had saw that connection firsthand. So, it's really cool to be a part of.
Is there things that you can do as a coach or as a team to help rebuild the fan base other than win?
It's a good question. It certainly helps. More than anything, I think you want to recognize they're part of what we do and how we play. And so knowing that, creating home field advantage and that kind of support, that's part of winning. And so when teams have to come here to play, that's a hard place to go play. It's the team, it's the fan base, it's everything that goes into it. So yes, the staff and the team can affect that, knowing how important they are to create an environment here when teams come to play. Hey man, this is going to be a hard day. It's the team, it's the fan base, it's the noise, it's all of that wrapped into competing. And the more our fans live that and understand that, it'll help the on-field performance. So yeah, we're calling on that in a big way.
Just to that point, I mean, today might be kind of the first day where there's a ton of fans, but how has your interaction with fans been, just grocery store or restaurants, whatever?
Yeah, it's been very cool to see, a support. We're pumped you're here. We're glad, that this thing, go get them, that kind of stuff. So seeing that, when you're part of the community, it feels good, because usually, when you're in the office and you're just here at home, you don't feel it on a regular basis. So being out and seeing some people and feeling that support, it's really a cool thing.
Jordan McGee, rookie. What has he shown you so far? How impressed have you been? What's his role kind of looking like?
I'd say the speed and the athleticism is what jumps out at me. He's got a rare quickness and short area burst to him that the really good linebackers have. He plays square, and he's got real speed, so we're going to push him hard in those spaces, but he's off to an excellent start.
Hey, Coach, could you talk a little bit about the red zone area? Are you seeing what you like in that area down there? Is it starting to be what you want it to be in the red zone?
Yes, and there's some common themes now that will come up down in the red zone. It's a quarterback that gets out of the pocket to create a second play. The windows happen tight, oftentimes more man-to-man, so you're not defending the field as much vertically, but how do you control it laterally and up the field? So we'll do it again tomorrow and have a big red zone emphasis. So in each block of 3 days, there's a red zone emphasis. So the team will go today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, and we'll focus again in the red zone tomorrow. So almost every part of each block of football will have that as part of it. And sometimes there's competitions. Tomorrow we'll have a 2-point play competition, just best out of 5, and just working through different plays, different concepts.
Coach, for a lot of your players, this is their first time playing in front of Commanders fans, even if it's just a practice. What was your message to your players as they embark on this journey at training camp, playing in front of the Commanders fans for the first time?
What we're all starting to learn is the importance of practice here. The only way to become excellent at something is to practice. That is the way. And so adding the fan base into that, the excitement, the performing that goes with that, that's really important, because you don't want to, ever assume, okay, in the lights, how's it going to go? But seeing that type of support and enthusiasm with that, that's a really big piece. So, yeah, we're really pumped about everybody being here.
Good morning, Coach. This is the time frame sometimes in training camps where maybe there could be some infighting. Have you had any conversations with the players about frustrations with going up against the same guy every rep?
We haven't had conversations about that, but we will. But what I do know, the animosity and fighting is not going to be part of what we do. Championship teams figured out they don't have ways that, get sideways in doing that, so it won't be part of what we do. If you lose your poise, in a game, there's consequences. If you lose your poise at practice, there'll be consequences. But no, it's nothing that I've had to address yet. I did early in the OTAs to make sure that didn't get that way.
And then rookie quarterback Sam Hartman, can you just kind of share a little bit about your thoughts on him so far?
Yeah, and I thought coming in, there won't be as many reps for Sam in the first, part of training camp. As we move forward and get, more extended play and we can extend the practices some, there'll be some more reps. So in a ramp-up period, you keep things a little more confined, but as we extend some practices, there'll be some more play. But he's just somebody that's been all in to say whatever you need and how do we get there, he's about it. And so he's here early, he's staying late. So you guys probably see the before practice, after practice work that he's putting in. So it's nice to see a young guy in his spot. Although he's not getting reps, he's pushing it hard to find his own ways to get better.
Coach, we've seen a couple of flags, maybe a few get thrown here and there. So what's the kind of learning process of why that flag was thrown and just the overall one-on-one touch base with that player?
Yeah, and I think what you want, Candy, is to avoid pre-snap and the post-snap, because those can really come down to discipline. A post-snap of a poise or a pre-snap of an offsides or a false start. If there's a combative penalty, then you can coach from that and teach from that. It's holding or hands to the face or PI or, whatever that might have looked like. So it's the combative ones that we want thrown to see where we go. The ones that are lack of discipline mistakes, those are the ones we know we have to get rid of our game, a false start, a jumping off sides, and so those ones can really hurt you. So knowing the two different types of penalties to go, we understand the combative ones will happen, but the ones pre-snap and post-snap, those are the ones that just can't be part of what we do. All right, thanks, guys. Looking forward to seeing everybody. All right, let's get it.